Kia ora, what's up? Do people still say what's up? I don't know. You know now that you're with the Maxim Institute's The Select Committee. My name's Tim Wilson. I'm Chief Executive of Maxim Institute, and I'm here with Thomas Scrimger, researcher, and research manager Marianne Spurtle. Hey guys.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's good to be here. And what is the Select Committee? Well, it's because you don't have the time to dig into politics, but you want to know the takeaways, and we work in a think tank. What are we doing today? Okay, truancy. How do you get the damn kids to go to school? Apparently, prosecute their parents. More on that soon. Also, India, the FTA with India. Who wins? Who loses? Is it worth it? Finally, has national changed tack and gone thermonuclear on the media. We'll find out about that. But the segment that you really want to hang on for, guys, am I right? Some energy?
Sure.
There's no energy. This is hopeless. Look, we'll just keep going. Fantasy Beehive, okay, where we rate collection of politicians, cabinet opposition, and someone who's not maybe on the radar. Who's up? Who's down? Who's not paying? Who do we pick? There are winners and losers. Stop crying. Let's start with truancy. Okay, so prosecution of a family, parents, I think, of a kid who won't go to school. Marianne, good idea, bad idea?
Well, they have got attendance rates up. Mm-hmm. I think the good idea is having a predictable outcome. And up until this point, it's been very ad hoc. There's been, we have a system where there is some reporting, where there could be fines. But if you compare it to the system in the UK, where it's very predictable, if your kid doesn't go to school for this many days, this will happen, there will be a fine. If this happens and the kid still isn't in school, then that will happen and there will be a prosecution. And there's a very defined, we're very much of a, let's talk about it. Let's find out what's going wrong. Let's see if we can mitigate things. And that's great. However, it means that families don't have this predictable, if you do this or don't do this, this will happen.
As a parent, this sounds like two different styles of parenting.
Exactly.
I.e., should we have a conversation about the feelings that you're having trouble dealing with? Or no, don't do that. If you do that, this will happen.
Yeah, and it very much depends on the school, how much resourcing it has, how consistent they are. So this government has tried to beef that up a bit. We're still nowhere near the way the UK does it. However, there seems to be a little more predictability, and they have got attendance rates up. Not quite to pre-COVID levels. I think they're still 4 points off that. But it bottomed out. I mean, term 3 of 2023, 46% of students were attending 90% or more of the time, which is really low.
That's
and it's
terrible.
up. It's getting closer to 70% now. The goal is 80% by 2030. So it has shifted. Consistency is going to be really the thing that makes a difference.
How often did you go to school, Thomas?
I was really good at attending school. I always found it strange when people wagged because all of my friends were at school. If you show up and you're polite to the teacher, you can do nothing and get away with it. Like, don't misbehave because it gets in the way of having a good time.
This sounds like your business model at Maxim Institute. Show up, get along with everyone. No one complains.
I really shouldn't reveal my secrets on air to the boss. But yes, if you're pleasant to the teachers and you attend, you can get away with highway robbery. But thinking about, I guess, the truancy challenge, I'm reminded of a Burke quote. Kings will be tyrants by policy when subjects are rebels by principle. So the idea he's getting at there is that when people are not conforming to the way laws are, the government always has to crack down. So I think many people are rightly a little bit surprised that the government would prosecute parents because their kids don't go to school. It's no one's first preference. It seems to be the kind of thing that social norms and expectations should be that children are educated, whether that's in state schools or in private schools or homeschool or whatever. But when those norms break down, the government has to extend its power to ensure that this really important thing happens. It's not compassionate to let families not educate their children. It really lets the children down.
So what I'm hearing from you is that, yes, government should prosecute parents. Question, how big's the stick? Is it a fine, which they may not pay? Is it jail time?
So I'm not going to go all the way and say that I'm going to endorse any particular form of punishment because I think there is an effectiveness criteria. This isn't my area. I'm not going to wade and be like, this kind of punishment is necessary. All I'd like to observe is that to let parents away with not getting their kids educated in whatever form is to really let down children in ways that aren't really recoverable later in life. If you don't educate children as children, it's incredibly hard to get them back on a steady path once they get to adulthood, because those childhood years are when you're best placed to do really important learning.
Adults learn much more slowly, Marianne.
Yeah, I do like that we haven't gone as far as the UK has, and so it is taken into consideration. Is a family struggling? We don't want to make things worse. Is this a good family where, yeah, the kid's out of school for 3 months, but it's for an opportunity that, those things are weighed in. And so you've communicated that really well. Like, what is actually best for the kids? And not just, these are the rules, everybody has to follow them for no.
So there we are. The takeaway is we're for sticks, but we'll argue about the size of the stick and how often it's applied. Thank you. India Free Trade Agreement. Lots of debates around this. It's come out now. What's our assessment, Thomas?
Well, it's a big feather in the cap of the government. At the last election, they came out pretty strong. In 3 years, we're going to have a free trade deal with India. And there was a lot of skepticism that was probably pretty justified. Obviously, it takes two to tango, and so it's not enough for a government to want to do a free trade agreement. They had to get India on board as well. And India has been pretty notoriously difficult to trade with. They've historically favoured very high tariffs, protecting their industries. And
they're not fair trade. They're not free traders. They're sort of fair traders, and that we have to get something back.
Yes, and particularly they're quite protective of their agriculture, understandably. They are also an agricultural nation, and so New Zealand exports a lot of things where they're very inclined to protect. And so the fact that this has got across the line is pretty significant. Now, there are carve-outs. Dairy is a notable one. But probably the strongest part of it, other than the particulars, is that we've got them to agree to us having a most favoured nation status, which means we have this deal. If someone else comes along and negotiates a better one, we also get upgraded. So there's room for this to grow as well.
And speaking of growing, let's just go to quote of the week during the debate about this. Chris Bishop, let's just roll tape.
How do you like them apples?
Play it again.
How do you like them apples?
And again.
How do you like them apples?
It still keeps, it's the gift that keeps giving, Marianne, in terms of there's a triumphalism there, I think, that Thomas is talking about. We got this is a feather in the cap. What's your take on this?
It's definitely a win. If you look at the size of India, what is it, 1.4 billion people and 11% of global trade, and it's about 1.5% of our export market. There are definitely some wins to pick up there. If you look at it, who's got the better deal, India's got, I think, 0 tariffs on their exports to us, and that's not the deal we have to them. But we are that much smaller. We are not going to have as good a deal. The question is there room for growth there? And there is, and we're going to need India more going forward. So I think strategically, this is definitely the direction we need to be heading.
Okay, those apples will keep paying dividends. What are we looking like if we think about India, say, in 100 years' time, Thomas? What would that country look like?
So I think you're nailing on something that's probably been undercovered in the story. People often think about what's it going to do to our export income over the next 10 years, or even can it grow a little bit? But really, I think that strategic and long-term question is what's really important. So the 20th century was the American century, that they set the rules for the world and they dominated everything. And then people have talked about the rise of China and a multipolar world. But if we're looking ahead long-term for New Zealand, India is perhaps the third great power. They are the largest country in the world. They have not done a one-child policy like China did, which led to disastrous consequences. And so India is a rising power. They have a lot of challenges. They've got a tough road ahead. But befriending another major player in the world gives us flexibility in the future. We've historically been aligned with America. We've done a free trade deal with China. Each of them in their own ways are unreliable friends. China, we're worried about them geopolitically. America is increasingly unpredictable. So having one more player whom we can trade with means that we are less critically and crucially dependent on our friends. When you think back to New Zealand back in the 1970s and 80s, when we'd been exporting everything to Britain, and then Britain goes into the European Union, and it is devastating for us. Having multiple friends means we aren't dependent in the same way as we once were.
Putting it, maybe framing it in the truancy argument, we're the littlest kid in the class. We need lots of big boys and girls to be our mates. That way our survival will be ensured.
or we get the big boys and girls, if they start fighting each other, we duck and try and hide in the South Pacific.
There we go. Okay, taking it geopolitically. In terms of ducking or fighting, let's move to the National Party and the media. Now, there's some suggestion, and I'm not sure about this because we're talking about Chris Luxon, the Prime Minister, withdrawing from being interviewed by Tova O'Brien on TVNZ's Breakfast, the complaint to TVNZ over reporters pursuing Stuart Smith through the hallways of Parliament, not Chris Luxon not taking questions over the leadership statement. I'll say maybe they're not going thermonuclear on the media, but they are sort of turning up the heat. Is this a good idea, Marianne? Is this something that will work for the? Okay. First question. I'm saying maybe. Are you saying yes? They are. Where are you at?
Yes, they are turning up the heat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
And I think they need to, possibly because the baseline was so low, and there's really nothing to be lost by being a little less compliant, is there?
No, I don't think a politician ever lost any support by spanking the media. I mean, when you look at trust surveys, what is it? Journalists are about around used car salesmen, lawyers, and politicians. Oh, wait, it's politicians. Thomas.
Yeah, I would push back a little in that you're never really going to, go broke bagging on the media, but you also don't want to seem like you're in your feelings and a little bit like I'm hard done by specifically by the media. And so National do have to be a bit careful that they don't try and play the sympathy card too much as if we are being mistreated specifically and everyone else is getting an easier go. So if you can ding the media and seem strong and confident, that could be really strong. But if you seem sort of weak and a bit sensitive, then people may not resonate with that.
Yeah, self-pity is not really a business model.
No, we're playing the victim.
So in terms of, is this a sort of sea change, a big shift from National? Well, Mark Mitchell was complaining about TVNZ back in late February when they did that, TVNZ did that crime story and didn't talk about the latest crime figures of the day, etc., etc. I'm just not sure that this is maybe more business as usual, Thomas.
I think we're seeing signs of something that could be a sea change, not enough evidence yet, because there have been two major personnel changes that could be signaling something. The first is National brought in Rachel Smalley as an external comms consultant, obviously highly experienced and may lead to a change in direction. And then elevating Simeon Brown to campaign manager over Chris Bishop. Again, Brown is a different figure to Bishop, and so may be pushing them to be more combative. I don't think we have enough evidence yet to say this is definitely how the election will go, but if the election is a bit more frictious between the media and National Party, we would say this is the moment that things turned. So I'd say watch this space, see if this is something real.
Let's hear from Chris Bishop again.
How do you like them apples?
It just never gets old for me. Okay, now we are moving to the proprietary technology part of this, Fantasy Beehive, using proprietary technology pioneered by Maxim Institute. We've had our AI working. The servers have been just about overcooking. We're rating some of the top politicians. We've got one cabinet minister, one opposition person, one of neither. Who are you picking, Marianne?
Yep. This week I went for politicians who are sticking to their knitting. So looking at people who are doing exactly what you would hope they would be doing. So Carlos Tung, who's our local MP up the road in Mount Roskill, he's representing one of the most diverse seats in the country. And he said, as an immigrant, representing immigrants, basically, we don't think you're funny. This isn't helpful. And that's really kind of his brand. He is a representative for migrants, and he's very much about his community. And then Steve Abel, and I know last week I gave the Greens a bit of a hard time, because the thing that bugs me about the Greens is they will ignore the complexity in things, and they will focus on things that are not green and that are not necessarily matters for Parliament. Steve Abel, on the other hand, he is calling out the government's plans to do mining in an area that's protected. Now, the details, I don't know if his points are good or not.
But it's back on message.
He's actually one of the MPs, and when he's come across my radar before, he had some really good things to say about the gene tech bill. he's actually digging into the details. He's asking the kind of questions that a Green MP or any MP really should be asking. And so, yeah, he made the news by digging into that, and good on him.
Okay, great. I'm gonna do mine just quickly. So, Chris Penk, he's in the obviously building minister, and has had some wins in terms of amendment bills passing for the building and construction sector, self-certification by plumbers and drain layers. Also, he used to drive a submarine, so that's cool as an ex-minister. Ginny Anderson, who rated sort of quite well with oral question time, but she also does really well on the segment she does opposite Mark Mitchell on ZB. So she didn't win any media points this week, but I'm giving her general media points. I think I'm being too generous, perhaps. I'm not sure. But I also want to tap into Ingrid Leary, who opposed online gambling changes by Brooke Van Velden. And she's a really good local MP. She has, I think she's one to watch in the Labour Party, because if we're looking at any reshuffle pre-election, she'll be certainly one to. She's articulate, she's focused, connected to the community. She's going to go places. Thomas.
Well, my starting point for picking people was that more is more. It's a philosophy that's served me well in life. It's quite sophisticated. But so I went with Todd McClay to kind of off the bat. The India Free Trade Deal is not just kind of a big policy win. It's a policy win with great photographs, because you're overseas, there's a document to hold up, you smile, it's all the kind of media pageantry you want. So it's not just you achieved your goal. There's a nice visual element.
Everyone sees you achieving your goal.
Yeah, so he was a big win for me. I had a couple of Labour members with my other two, won't name names because they weren't strong performers this week. And I was just reflecting on Henry Cook had an article in the Post kind of observing that Labour is really running the small target strategy, even more so than National in 2023. They're keeping very quiet, there's strong discipline, but they're not announcing a lot of things or putting their head above the parapet. So perhaps a good strategy. People might, like it or dislike it, but it's not strong for winning in the political fantasy league because they're not putting themselves out there. So overall, not a strong week for me, except for Todd McClay, obviously a big hit.
Okay, so what are the numbers telling us? Who wins?
Well, the winner this week, it's not you, Tim.
Oh.
I was talking down my own picks, but I beat you. But Marianne takes it all out, 24 points for the week. Marianne is taking the lead. Well done.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Marianne. I hope it's a short reign, because I need to be back in that throne.
Sure it will be.
And look, that's politics. One week you're up, the next week you're down. If you need more of this, then come back next week. We're saying ka kite from Maxim's Select Committee.